We have received a new project to work on, mate. Okay, what is this? The Warthog, and yes, it is from the AVM International. To be exact, Arms and Vehicle Manufacturer International. Wait, is this stolen? Of course, we are trying to upgrade our project on the A-25. However, we can't really ignore this iconic can we? Fair enough, I guess. What do I do with it now? Do what you always do. Make a video on it. Okay. Let's see. What do we have here? Oh. Right. Let's start from the end of 1945. The creation of nuclear bomb was something incredible. Inventing the nuclear bombs were something, but inventing a vehicle for deploying it was something else. For years and years, time and budget was spent on these kinds of aircrafts. The doctrine was more in focus of who will deliver the payload first and who to counter the threat of destruction in the fastest way possible. The more we went forward, the more frontiers we discovered. But there was one thing that was getting quite outdated, and it was the close air support aircraft. The Vietnam War proved that a vehicle for close air support in a battlefield is definitely needed. During the Vietnam War, the A-1 Skyraider was widely used, and the aircraft itself was getting really outdated. I mean, come on, last time they used a prop plane in Vietnam was... they deserve their own video, okay? It's like, imagine the most Ace Combat Counter-Strike style dogfight, anyways, we're going on tangent. So in 1966, the US Air Force started the development of a new CAS aircraft by the name of A-X program. The requirements were quite simple. A 30mm gun, maximum speed of 740 kilometers or 460 miles per hour, the maximum load of 16,000 pounds. As always, 6 companies showed up. 2 were chosen as finalists, and the prototypes rolled out. The 2 prototypes were the A-9A and the Fairchild Republic with the A-10A. The winner was the Fairchild Republic. Shortly afterwards, they changed the name from A-10A to simply A-10A, and it was named after the Thunderbolt II, after the World War II era fighter bomber, the P-47. This aircraft has seen many conflicts, such as the invasion of Afghanistan, Iraq, and, most importantly, the Gulf War. Despite its age, this aircraft is still in use to this day, with the A-10C variant, which hopefully we will see in the future. But in general, when it comes to A-10, there are usually 2 types of opinions about it. You either adore it and want to be its bitch, or you're bitching about it because you're a bitch. But either way, this aircraft is in warthunder now. Now let's have a look at the modules that this thing has.
Now a word from our sponsor.
The A-10 Thunderbolt II. Hear the sound of the true freedom.
What time is it, G? There's no time for learning. The A-10 will destroy you early in the morning. The burning tanks are logs on a fire. That bloody scream is all the warthog desires. Can't run away when sound of a main gun starts turning.
With positive feedback from our customers.
My neighbor's dog has been silent since I bought this beast. Thank you, Warthog.
Colonel, I used it to fire at the British convoys. Didn't know they had T-backs in their rations.
Oh yeah, I love it when this goes, yeah!
With the most simplified, bare-bone close air support you could get among the competitors. The A-10 Thunderbolt II. Get yours from the nearest dealership of your area.
Welcome to the Armor and Modular Protection Analysis, where we basically analyze the armors and modules inside of a vehicle. Today's aircraft is the A-10 Thunderbolt II, or A-10 Warthog. Now the first thing we need to take a look at is the crew. The crew has CCIP on all of its armaments, CCRP for the bombs, night vision, a fully fledged out radar warning receiver, 480 countermeasures, and maybe thermals on your Mavericks and IRSD auto tracker, and that's pretty much it. With the titanium bathtub protecting the butt cheeks of the pilot. The more you know, Best 225 also has that as well. Who gives a crap? It's gonna use Vaseline anyway. This aircraft has 4 self-sealing fuel tanks, 2 on the wings and 2 on the main fuselage, with these fuel presets. The fuel consumption of this vehicle is very much incredible. And at most, you may need 30 minutes of fuel in the long session of sim battles. Other than that, the minimum fuel is more than enough. The engines on this thing are General Electric TF34-GE-100A high bypass turbofan engines with 4,040 kilograms of force on each engines. Fun fact, when they developed the A-10, one thing that they realized was that when you fired the A-10's gun, the GAU-8's gun gases that were coming out of the gun could go directly into the engines via the top of the wings, resulting in either an engine flameout or completely choke out the engines. The Air Force's solution? Well, 3 of them were proposed. The first one was to increase the length of the barrel and some changes in the bonding of the ammunition, which really didn't work. The second solution was to change the design of the nose, which not only butchered the appearance of the aircraft, but at the same time it also gave it some aerodynamical issues, which made the A-10 shake violently when firing the gun. The third solution was to add in a gas diverter on the barrel of the gun, which led into more problems with its maintenance. The final solution was to, and I'm not even joking, tripping the ignition system. I mean, we also have it in editing as well. If you want an explosion to be heard, you have to pull the background music down a little bit for the time that the sound effect is peaking. Here's an example without the peaking. And here's an example with the peaking. More editing tips by Bob Dickinson. And speaking of guns on this thing, this aircraft has a 30mm GAU-8 cannon, the most famous cannon you can possibly find on the combat, alongside this son of a bitch, just in case if, you know, Russia runs out of K-52. This gun is absolutely interesting. First of all, you have the iconic sound that it makes, which in real life sounds like this. The first sound you hear is the shells impacting on the ground, and then you have the main gun itself. Some people who don't like it will tell you it's a hippo farting, you know, like it's sh**ing its ass out. Some people who like it will say it's the growl of the mighty dragon.
Weapon showcase. Okay, there we go for this.
And some that are boring and centric people that don't understand the heat of the several thousand depleted uranium rounds coming to their face. Poseidon's orgasm. Also, apparently, if you Google A-10 waifu, yeah, they made waifus out of this.
Oh no! Hell yeah, motherfucker!
The rounds that the A-10 has are either high explosive incendiary or high velocity armor piercing tracer shells. But either way, this gun shreds aircraft like a bitch. Every time you shoot at an enemy aircraft, you literally saw them off so bad they get a PTSD out of this. Every single time someone says something positive on the A-10, they go legit ballistic on you. As for engaging ground units, I mean, don't get me wrong, the gun is nice and all, but it's not a space laser. The fire spread on this thing is very good when it comes to engaging enemy aircraft, and the range that this gun has is fairly decent. The CCIP legit gets activated at like, what, 2 kilometers, 1.5 kilometers? Like, my god. This thing is insane. As for engaging ground units, honestly, I myself would prefer more spread because, you know, if I find a lightly armored vehicle, I want to spray that entire hull as much as possible, but some people prefer to be more accurate, like the SU-25's GSH-30 gun. I don't know, honestly, each to their own. If you like something else, then so be it. Please remember that this is a 30mm gun, and with the 70mm-ish penetration that you got, other than the tracks or guns, I would highly doubt that you're gonna deal damage with the enemy MBTs. Unless you're engaging them from the back or the roof, which is a totally different story. You can only do much with the 30mm. I mean, look at the IFVs, dude. Those have Sable rounds, and God, can you imagine the A-10 having 30mm APF-SDS?
Goddamn, turns out the gun gases are not the only thing that your engine needs. Yeehaw!
But overall, this is a very fun rotary cannon. If you stop f***ing complaining. At the end, you have the 2 oil cooling systems, spars, and last but not least, the traction of the control surfaces. Now let's have a look at the armaments that this thing carries. Let's start from the unguided munitions, with the Hydra 17 rocket pods with the M247 warhead. 7 on each pod, with a possibility to use them in either 3 per 4 inner wing pylons or 1 on the 6 inner wing pylons. Available on all Warthogs. These rockets are quite nice on this aircraft. They have decent penetration and explosive mass, nice speed and range, but they might have several problems. The first one is the quantity of the rockets. 7 per pod is a real bummer compared to something like the F-111, the F-4 Phantom, or even the A-4 Skyhawk. And the other problem is the spread. The wingspan of the A-10 is really wide and can spread quite a bit, and for that reason I would highly recommend you to use them on lightly armored targets like an ARB, or you can use the 250 or 2,000 pound bombs and their parachute retarded versions. Available on all A-10s. And then you have the guided munitions. With the GBU-8 homing bomb system, or HOBO, yes, that's the name, installed on the 2 pair inner wing pylons, giving you 4 total. Only exclusive to the premium A-10. These bombs are quite nice. They're 2,000 pound TV guided bombs which can be only used at daytime, but you can also use them as a normal bomb. Up next is the AGM-65 Mavericks, installed on the middle wing pylons, with the TV-guided B variant being available on the premium A-10, and the IR-guided D variant installed on the Tech Tree Warthog. The differences between these two might not be that much, until you actually use the D variant on the Tech Tree. First of all, the B variant has a normal black and white screen, with a very limited but nice FOV, and it can be only used in day. The D variant, on the other hand, gets an entirely new camera with thermals, and overall much more freedom and quality of life improvements when it comes to using it. For example, the ability to zoom, better image quality, a new HUD system, and more reliable lock and etc. This missile can also be used at evenings and at night with no problems. And last but not least, the AIM-9L Sidewinders, installed on the outer pylons on all A-10 Warthogs. Depending on the model of your aircraft, you either carry 2 AIM-9Ls or you get 2 of them stock and then 4 once you got the modifications. The A-10 Early gets the 2 AIM-9Ls while the A-10 Late gets 4 of them. The AIM-9L is a top-tier all-aspect missile that is being used at 10.0 and 0.3 BR. Just like the R-60Ms on the Su-25s, the AIM-9Ls will be devastating towards the aircrafts that usually don't have any flares, such as miserable like the F-100 Super Sabre, the MiG-19, or the F-4C Phantoms, you know, just to name a few punching bags. They are nice missiles with all-aspect fire, 30 Gs of pull, and it will be nice to shoot them at 2 to 2.5 kilometers of range. And last but not the least, you have the 20mm cannon installed on the 2 fuselage pylons. I mean, sure, whatever, you can use it, but just remember this, the recoil is so much, it is going to be definitely harder to elevate, at least in instructor mode, and in sim controls, it's even harder to elevate with those. But yet, in general, be careful about those. Now let's get on with the mobility. When it comes to the mobility, the A-10 is definitely a weird one. This aircraft's BR is at 10.0, which, okay, I'm gonna say one thing. If they're at 10.0, give them old stock A9Gs or R60s or whatever the hell is. Just please give them those types of missiles, because let me tell you one thing. Super Sabres, MiG-19s, F-4C Phantoms, these vehicles are suffering. You either remove their missiles and add A9Gs to it, which, unless if you don't want to remove the A9Ls, at least up their BR to, like, I don't know, 10.7 or 11.0 or something. I mean, Gaijin already separated the BR of the ground RB and air RB, but this is my opinion on the BR of this thing generally, so yeah. Anyways, we're going off tangent. This aircraft's max speed is at 700-ish kilometers per hour, and at this BR, most of the aircrafts are either broke the sound barrier already or they're in high altitudes. And indeed, this thing is very good at turning, even though the flaps are automatic on this thing and usually don't work when you're in the air trying to dogfight someone. Just be careful, as when you make your A-10 heavy or go on high altitudes, you can see the issue rear its ugly head. You have nice air brakes, and overall your aircraft feels really nice to control. Now, let's get on with the game modes. When it comes to air realistic battles, this aircraft is really weird. The playstyle is as it goes. You take off from the airfield, and since you're slow, the friendly fighters will go in and fight the enemy. And you usually end up in two scenarios. You either reach the battlefield seeing the entire enemy team dying, or the opposite. If it's the first case, then please remember to use your ground ordnances in the best way possible. And strike the ground units as much as you can. Pro tip, you see that special challenge that you got there? Yeah, anti-mech? Yeah, activate that thing, butcher the ground units, and just simply watch yourself swimming in SL, dude, in a while. You gotta be really fast when it comes to these kind of things. You have to be first. I want to roleplay as a K-50 like I'm in heli PvE, so I just pick up rockets, Mavericks, and maybe a 500-pound bomb, because at the end of the day, it's quite pointless to drop a 2,000-pound on a, pillbox, while I can just, do a half-a-second bullet spread on the pillbox itself. So generally, yeah, you can actually do this one and farm some decent amount of SL. Just so you know, there are other A-10s that are want to do the same thing as well. So yeah, be fast, strike them hard. As for the second scenario, please defend yourself as much as you can. You can turn fight pretty well, and you can use your 9Ls and guns to its full potential. But remember this, the A-10 is not invincible, neither with its flight model or its damage model. So be careful about that. When it comes to ground RB though, things get a lot more interesting. In ground RB, this thing is quite nice. If you want to play it like it's your stereotypical cast machine, then sure, you can do it, but be aware of Pansirs and Tunguskas and Strelas, or any other SPAs in general. If you want to use this as a high altitude cast, then you can also do it, though it takes a little bit of time, and it all depends on your skill and your skill alone. I mean, comparing it to, for example, the A7 Corsair, this thing is slower, so yeah, you can actually either get this thing via the tech tree or test flight it and see how it is compared to, say, the A7. If you have the A7, either the K or the tech tree variant, I would probably assume you already have the A10, so test things out and see which one is better for you when it comes to casts. The Mavericks start tracking at 3 to 4 kilometers, and if the enemy SPA does not move at all, they are cooked to hell. But overall, it depends on you on how to play the cast. I personally like to use the Mavericks at closer range, and while I'm doing stuff that close, I might as well use the gun to give fun to some of them boys on the ground, if you know what I mean.
Status in the overhead, ready for test.
Okay, so I already talked about this thing in Sim and, generally how this thing works. On the top right, there should be a notification, and if you click on that thing, you can actually see the video. In that video, I basically explained on how this thing works in Sim, how the cockpit is, like what the HUD system is, and in general, it is overall a nice video for A-10s in Sim. How to counter them, how to play with it. Overall, I think it is a decent video. Have a look at it if you want to. But in general, the A-10 turns really well. Once you want to go and shoot down the ground units, there's a high chance that you might actually get intercepted by enemy aircraft. In that case, just watch out who you're firing your 9Ls at, because A-10 is the most basic bitch aircraft you can have in Sim. You got no radar, no proper camera pod, nothing, literally nothing but an RWR. I mean, even like I said it in the video itself, the Desert Storm pilots had a binocular so they could check on things, for example, on the ground and like identify the targets and whatnot. Yeah, you don't even have that. The best thing you got is a simplified zoom. So identify your aircraft first, then fire your 9Ls. Welcome to the final verdicts. In this section of the video, we're going to take a look at the different model of a vehicle and see which one of them are either worth the grind or the purchase. Let's start with a premium A-10A early. This aircraft is a premium sitting at the battle rating of 10.0 and soon to be 10.3 in ground realistic. Honestly, if you want to start an Air RB, there are better options than that, but if you like a CAS option that you want to have in your ground lineup, then sure, you can have it. I mean, if you want more guided bombs type of cast, then you can surely pick the A6. Other than that, if you really want to buy it, yeah, sure, go for it. Why not? It's a really lovely and iconic airplane. Verdict: buy it if you like it. I granted most of the US air chew with the A-10 alone in Sim, but just remember, in Sim, it is not going to be easy. Next up is the tech tree version of the A-10A Late. This version is a nice start. You get 2 9Ls and the cannon itself can do the job in air RB, so yeah, it is indeed quite nice. If you want a more tech tree equivalent with more guided bombs instead of Mavericks and overall better top speed, you can also have a look at the pan-faced Crusaders. Oh, sorry, I meant A7 Corsair. Verdict? I would say get it, but spading it is optional, because it is fun, but at 10.7, it might be a totally different experience than the premium A10. And at 10.7, honestly, the A7 Corsair is not really a bad option either. I mean, it does have the pod version of the GAU 8, which is basically this. It has a really wacky ammo that is, you know, rolling around the gun itself. If you want to have that type of thing instead of the A10 itself, you can also have a go at the A7E or even the D version of the Corsair. Now, comparing the A10 early to the A10 late, on the A10 late you do have the IR Mavericks, extra 9Ls in exchange for TV Mavericks and GBUs and the twin 20Ls. But at the end of the day, honestly, it depends on you. The A10 is a killing machine that, despite having its own flaws, British convoy, it has been in the Operation Desert Storm, and it has a special place in my museum once it gets retired. Hopefully we will see more variants of it in War Thunder fairly soon. Now, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, if you liked this video, hit that subscribe button or like the video, give a super thanks, or join my YouTube membership if you want to. This is me, Bob Dickinson from the Sullivan Avionics, and thank you for watching.